they might get a background, and the pens they might do like a movie show.
Oh, okay. We'll see.
Why? Scared of them?
Like, I mean, I don't love that they're here. You know that. They creep me out. But, Okay. Are we ready for the worst books of the year? Okay, I've been cultivating my list, been thinking about it, mashing it over, and I think I've come to a conclusion. Okay, I've come to a list. There's a combination of various kinds of books on this list. One of the types being terrible books that I hated because they're terrible. Okay, another category being great books, literally, like literary merit, idea, background, like just beautiful, brilliant books that I hated also for some whatever reason. Like, I don't know, I'm broken or something. Okay. Another type is terrible books that no one should read because they're awful, which I didn't hate, but should have. Again, because I don't know, there's something wrong with me. I don't know. Sometimes I love terrible books. So there's a couple of those on here. But I think the vast majority, like the largest category in this list, is just books I found to be terribly but crackingly boring. Like, why? Or long. Like, maybe if it was half the size, it would be bearable. But dear God, why is it so long? Like that. So, that's what we're working with. Okay, are you ready? We're gonna hit the list hard. Okay, first book on our list is Survive the Night by Riley Sager. Like, I've read a million books by Riley Sager, okay, and they were okay. They're sort of like airport thrillers. Like, they're not gonna stand up to scrutiny plot-wise. You know what I mean? Like, you can't sort of find literary merit there. Like, if you're just looking for like a quick, boom, boom thriller that's gonna keep your attention for a while, like, these are okay, okay? But this one was literally the worst one I've ever read of Riley Sager's ever, and it's made it so that I cannot read the other one that I have by the author in my holds. Like, it's just still in my holds. I can't bring myself to read it. Basically, in this one, Survive the Night is a girl in the 90s. Okay, I don't know why it's set in the 90s because literally nothing about it is 90s-ish except that she can't use a cell phone. Okay, so she's headed home from college to her home in Ohio or something like that, and she's decided to go with a stranger. We don't know him. Okay, he's clearly going to be an axe murderer because when you're in a thriller book and you go home on a road trip with a stranger, you're going to die. Obviously. So she's left all of her people behind, her safe people, so that she can go forward into the night with this stranger. Okay, and then she's not sure what's going to happen. She's not sure that he's a serial killer for some reason. Okay, then when she figures out what's going to happen, she's like, okay, I should escape. But I won't do. Just about 9,000 times. For like 9,000 different times in the book, she's like, I realize what is happening and I should escape. But I won't do. For whatever reason, just like a million plot hole reasons why. Okay, and this guy in the car also acts in various ways which stop her from doing things, but you don't know why he's done that. There's no reason he should do that. It's just a plot hole. I don't know what Riley Sager was thinking when he wrote this book. I feel like I'm getting a vibe of desperate for money. Okay, like, I don't know if that's true. I obviously don't know him. I may be like slandering him in a terrible way, okay? But I feel like if someone were to use up all of their money on gambling debt and then need money straight away right now, they might sort of like start getting crazy, being like, I should write a book. Okay, we're gonna start with a car, and then we're gonna have a serial killer, and we're gonna put this person here and this person here. We don't know why we've put them there, but who gives a shit? Okay, nobody cares. I feel like that's what this book is giving, and it was super annoying. Like, by the end, you're just like, I want her to die. I'm not going to tell you if she dies or not because that's, going to be a spoiler, but if she dies, that's what we want. Okay, I think that's what she secretly wants because she's sabotaging everything for herself. Also, the worst sin of all, as far as I'm concerned, I knew who the killer was as soon as they were introduced into the book. Is nearly the whole of the book I knew who it was. That's disgusting. And I'm angry with Riley Sager for making me have that experience. Okay. Our number 2 is less intense. Okay, more mild in the hatred department, and it's The Swimmers by Julie Otsuka. So this one was part of my Seattle Public Library like book bingo thing, and it was one of the ones that they specifically recommended as being amazing. And I know underneath that this is just a lovely, beautiful book, okay, with loads of meaning, loads of like subtle appreciation and insightfulness, okay? And I hate myself that I can no longer enjoy such a lovely, sweet appreciation of the everyday joys of life, okay, and their eventual bittersweet ends. Because I'm so full of like thrillers and slashers and, you know, just crap. Like, is it that I'm no longer able to appreciate normal, beautiful, subtle things because I require everything to have violence or magic? It's hard to say. I don't really know why I found this boring as sin. But I did. And also a couple people also told me that they felt that way. So maybe it is just super boring, or maybe all of my friends are as emotionally broken as myself. It's hard to say. Okay, the third one is Hidden Deaths by Evan Morgan Jones. Okay, this is a Wales author, you know, a local Wales author, and it's about a Welsh legend. And I loved it. 5 blazing stars, okay, purely for its sheer madness, okay? It's absolutely ridiculous in every possible way, but terrible, so terrible. And I'm gonna present to you now a me of the past, a me of last summer when I was reading this book, because I feel like she is gonna explain the chaos in the best way. Okay. This one is about like Cantor Gwaelod. It's like a fantasy sci-fi sort of thing about Cantor Gwaelod, which is like a Welsh legend version of Atlantis. So it's like a town that existed in like on the edge of the sea, and the sea has like taken it over. God, like this book is so cheesy. So we've got this kid, he's an orphan. He's living with foster parents, and they're like his 4th foster parents in 6 years. Like, he gets around, right? And he's run away a bit, you know, not all the way, just like enough to sort of give his foster parents a scare. So he ends up on the pier, and he sort of runs into this like mysterious old guy who starts telling him the story of Cantor Gwaelod. Sort of like looking out, he's like, oh, that's Cantor Gwaelod. He says, oh, scientists, they say the ice caps melted and sort of flooded out ages ago. The legend says it was a fortress, you know, like a walled city and a castle and everything. And there was a man who was supposed to shut the floodgates every day. But he went to a party and there was a storm and he got drunk and he was dancing and partying and forgot to shut the floodgates, and the whole fortress and the town and everything flooded and everyone had to flee. And the kid's like, that was weird. How do you know my name? Like, I bet he's a teacher. Like, I bet my foster parents like sent him here to send me home, blah, blah. Anyway, he's walking home from that, and I see something weird like flying in the sky. Like, I don't know, some sort of sci-fi thing. I don't know, like it went from fantasy to sci-fi like real quick. And then it's like 12 years later, it jumps in time, and he's like some no account like 1950s drifter. He's like acting like it, and he's like talking like it. He's like talking to this girl that he's leaving at the shelter. He's like, baby, I'm out. Like really Patrick Swayze, like he's like, oh, you know me, I can't stay in one place too long, you know, like or no, like he's about to be like, you know, like Rumble, like, you know me, I gotta be on the move, I can't be pinned down. Okay, now we've got some sort of creature which is giving Cheshire Cat. Okay, then I saw them, 2 glowing eyes like 2 pools of molten silver hanging in the trees in front of me. There's a cat or a fox, something nocturnal and fierce. Did human eyes shine in the dark like that? Follow me, the voice purred. We're all mad here. I'm not all there myself. Okay, so then he's like, why? Because it's me you've been looking for your whole life. He says, like, I relaxed. A prostitute, I thought. I must have wandered over to the seedier side of the city. Although hiding behind some trees in an abandoned park was a strange way of doing business. Sorry, but I don't have any money. She cackled mockingly. Money is of no use where you're going. Where we're going, we don't need roads. This book is wild. Okay, wait, hold on. So Cantor Gwaelod wasn't a city. It was a space station, Hash said. It didn't drown, it crashed some 30 miles off the shore of Cardigan Bay. So what happened afterwards? We got out, of course. The people of Britain didn't know we were aliens. They thought we were gods because our technology was so superior to theirs. They worshipped us and built their own megaliths and tombs covered in our own star maps. The stone circles at Cardiff Centre, for example. The Celts were not a primitive people, you see. Their culture, their art was alien. I was gobsmacked. But why didn't you just fix the ship and fly home? Oh my god. Okay, spoilers. I feel like I can give spoilers on this. Is anyone gonna read this? Oh, two guys, okay? We got the first guy who's the main guy. He's just been introduced to living in this like weird alien community underneath the water that's apparently crash landed there thousands of years ago. Okay, something about saving humanity. I don't know. I still don't get it, okay? He's just been implanted with some sort of chip to help him speak Welsh because the underwater community speaks Welsh, which is fair, okay? Can't agree, lads, people should speak Welsh. I'm not sure they should be aliens, but like, Welsh-speaking aliens, that's fucking cool, okay? So he's just been introduced to his roommate, and the roommate's like, oh, hey, you know, like, what job do you have? And the guy's like, oh, I've been assigned to building or whatever. And he's like, what do you do? And the guy's like, can't tell you. They have to go into the bathroom, turn the shower on. He's like, right. This is the only place we can talk without them knowing what I'm saying, okay? I work in the elimination department. And the new guy's like, the fuck? The fuck is that? Why is that a secret? And he's like, because they told you could eventually go home if you wanted to. And he was like, what do you mean I can't go home? He told me I could go home. He's like, you can't go home. Once you make the decision to live here, they're not going to tell you we have an elimination department till after you make the decision to live here, and then you're stuck here. So I don't know what the elimination department is, but it sounds pretty fucking badass. Like, we're getting a bit 1984 territory. Like, fantasy Atlantis 1984 with aliens. Holy shit, no, it's like a Welsh Men in Black. Like, some sort of, like, red dragon alien creature is gonna blow up Earth. It just keeps getting better. Okay, number 4 is The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay, and loads of people love the crap out of this one. I think it's a bit of a cult classic love for some people, but Paul Tremblay being sort of like a horror author-ish, and loads of the things on the back of this book being like, you know, buzzwords for horror, you know, like psychological thriller and, you know, stuff like this, and also it being about like a grave society. You think that it'd be horror, you know, but it's not. And I think that's where we went wrong originally. Maybe this book is quite good, you know, if you're looking for a book about friendships, you know, and people who are maybe a bit weird and can't find friends on their own who found each other in like a lovely way, or like, you know, a bunch of like name dropping of bands. If you're like really into 90s bands or music in general, and you just love that kind of vibe of like, we're talking, but instead of saying actual words, we just keep saying band names, you know, like that. And then at the end, the person who heard all the band names understands what they were saying, you know, even though all they said was band names. And that's like your vibe. I say you do it, okay? But if you're looking for a horror book here, this isn't really gonna go for you. Like, there's a bit at the end, the very end, like no spoilers, okay? Just in case that is your vibe. There's a bit at the very end that maybe hints at potentially a horror element, but it's only hinting, and it's not a very good horror element. It's a bit shit in itself. So this is just a tank. This is a tank for me, and I feel like basically the marketing for this book needs to be better. It's maybe not an author problem and more a marketing problem. This is not a horror book. And also when you go and you look on the reviews and stuff online, loads of people were like, this is not a horror book. What did I fucking read? I hated it. Okay, number 5. We're gonna go with The Midnight Club by Christopher Pike. And again, I think we have a similar problem to The Pallbearers Club, honestly. But I think past me, the me of roughly May time, I think, is gonna better be able to explain to you the problem. Okay, just finished this one tonight. Because it's Christopher Pike who writes scary books from the 90s, because the Netflix show is a bit of a scary show, you know, I thought, this will be a scary book. This is not a scary book. This is a bullshit pants book. This book sucked full hairy balls. And like, I don't know how much of that is based on the fact that I thought it was going to be scary and it was not scary, okay? Or how much of it is based on how it's actually shite. So clearly it's for teenagers in the 90s, okay? So that's obviously going to be one thing. But Fear Street books, other Christopher Pike books, Goosebumps books, so these are all for like, you know, kids and teenagers in the 90s, and they're all cheesy and amazing. Like awful, but in the best way, okay? This was awful in no kind of way except awful. I can't even fully explain to you why it is that I kept reading it and didn't DNF it. And I think it's mainly because I kept waiting for the scary. I kept thinking, what if I stopped right before the scary? You know, and then I will have binned it off for nothing and missed out on a really good experience. But I read it all the way to the end and it never gets scary. It's about kids in a hospice, slowly, painfully dying of cancer and making the best of friends along the way. No, friend. Terrible. I hated every minute of that, but I gave it 2 stars because I do feel bad that it was a lot of my misunderstanding of what the book was going to be about. And to be fair, it doesn't tell me on the back it's going to be scary. I just put that in my mind. I think from the cover, look, there's lightning, there's a scary house, then one of them does die. Like, I thought, you know, not just like, okay, yeah, they've all got cancer, they're clearly gonna die, you know, like that. So I felt a bit bad about it being such a terrible experience and how much that maybe was just on me, you know. So I gave it 2 stars. But that's all it deserves. Okay, so for number 6, I think, you know, unpopular opinion time. This might be a bit of a controversial go, okay? But I'm gonna say Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I said it. Like, I've done it. I'm sorry. I'm actually not sorry. I hated it. And I think for me, the main problem is that it went on way too long in a million different places and was really boring. Like, there's this part where this girl's like wandering as an avatar in a video game for just fucking ages. And like, I know it's supposed to portray like, I don't know, like a loneliness or like a retreat or like a new life or whatever. Like, I get it. Jesus. Can we fast forward through all this stuff now, you know? And you have just like loads of moments like that in it. It's too long. I think maybe, like, in trying to understand why people love this book so much, I think it's really relatable to loads of people. So it's like these 2 people who meet in a hospital and then have, you know, really strong friendships afterwards. There's also like a video game element, like, you know, they work for this video game company and they're really creative video gamers and they make games and stuff like that. And also it deals quite a lot with sort of grief and depression and sort of moving on with your life and blah, blah. And I think if you already relate to one of those sort of elements, it's easy then to like this book because it doesn't need to bring any presents for you. It doesn't need to bring like the establishment of an experience because you already have the experience, you know, it's just sort of building on top of that. Whereas for me, I don't think I really related to any of that. So I need a book to either relate to me or to be, you know, a really good book in that it creates the experience, it creates the backstory within you, you know, it makes itself relatable to people who can't relate naturally. Do you know what I mean? Because it's so, I don't know, immersive, I guess. And I would say that this book was not like that. It didn't bring the experience for me and I wasn't able to relate on my own. So I just found it really long as fuck. My God, it just kept going. Okay, number 7. I'm gonna go with Psychotic Teenage Bloodbath by Carl John Lee, right? This was in the Abominable book box that we got. And like Shannon and Bert also get this box and they also had this and they read it and they've put this book on their worst list as well. I think Bert was like saying, I think books like this are sort of a way for people to just like fully dig into their sick like sexual fantasy type things and then sort of like put it all out there without any restraint and then just sort of like package it up as like splatterpunk or like, you know, splatter horror or whatever. And it was like really depraved and disgusting. And like the first part of it I didn't hate because it had like a sort of Carrie vibe, you know, it was giving creepy Carrie and I was here for it. Like in a sort of mild way, you know, things like something will happen, it sends a chill up your spine, you're like, holy shit, like, well, super creepy, and I enjoyed it. But then somewhere sort of around, I don't know, after the first 1/4 of it, or maybe the first 1/3, I guess, it just started to go downhill with just disgustingness for no reason. Like, everyone started dying in like the most gross ways. Like, when I read this, I started like tallying up how many people had died and like how they had died by doing like an emoji count of like how they died. And in the end, yeah, it was just disgusting. And I think because I enjoyed like the first parts of it and like also I think like a bit in the middle so much, I ended up giving it 3 stars. But like looking back on it now, like, why? Like, it doesn't even add anything. I think people online were like, this isn't splatterpunk. It's just gross. Do you know what I mean? Okay, next one, Women Talking by Miriam Taves. This book is another one of the books where I can clearly tell that it's a delicious book. It's like literarily like amazing, you know, insightful, profound. It's basically a bunch of Mennonite women who finally realize after some time that they're being sort of like sexually assaulted over time by the men in their community, like they're being put to sleep and like attacked. And the men have now been taken away to prison and they're sort of due to be back, and they've got to decide like what they're gonna do. You know, they're like, oh, you know, do we accept this? Do we take this? Like, we need the men in our village. We're gonna live without the men in our village. You know, we have no outside the community skills, blah blah. But also, like, how can we possibly have them back when we know what they've done? And I love the premise of that idea, and I think there's a movie of it, and I've heard that the movie's really good. I might try to watch the movie. But in action, in actual, like, you know, portrayal of the situation, this is boring as fuck. It's just a bunch of women sitting around talking. Like, that's just my life, okay? And I talk about more interesting stuff than they can talk about because they do a lot of milk churning. Do you know what I mean? So, I like, they were sort of like talking. I'd be like, this is interesting, like desperate to find it interesting. But then at the end, I just had to admit to myself that that went by very slowly, and also I just want a snack. I just want to think about food and forget about this book because I didn't enjoy it. Okay, number 9, I'm gonna go with American Royalty by Tracy Livesey. So this one, the premise is amazing, okay, but I feel like in actual creation, it was bad. So I read this one for the Seattle Public Library's like adult book bingo again, and one of the categories was a hip-hop book, and this is one of the books that they recommended for a hip-hop book, and it's basically about a hip-hop star in America. She goes to do like some sort of benefit concert or something in England for the royal family, and her fixer, or like the person that she's been paired with to sort of live with and everything, he is a prince in the royal family. Like, obviously a different royal family, like an alternate universe royal family with alternate reality, like English royalty. And obviously over time they have to fall in love. Obviously, despite being from 2 different worlds, their love will never work, but they make it work, you know, like that's the idea that we're going for, but it falls all the way flat. I feel like the portrayal of this hip-hop star is bang on, okay? It's obviously written by an author who really understands where that character is coming from. There's a real strong connection to that character, and that character was really well sort of like written and made and everything, and I really enjoyed that. But every other character just fell all the way flat. Like the prince, Jesus fucking Christ, I can't even describe how terrible he was as a character. Like, first of all, he's not a 17th century prince, okay? He knows about America. He knows that Americans do stuff, you know. It's America. We're all over everyone's TV all the time, okay? He knows what Friends is, you know? And things that he said or whatever, like not having any idea what poor people do. Like, again, he's not from the 17th century. You know, he's never been poor in his life, but I think he has some sort of like, you know, rough gauge of general poor people stuff, okay? Because he's not been living under a rock. He's a modern prince. Or he'd like say things that I know, dear God, English people don't say. I just know it in my mind deep down that they don't say that, and it would sort of come off just really cringy. Like, this is the worst portrayal of an English person that's ever happened on earth. And then also, just the whole trope of, I love you so much immediately upon seeing you that I must treat you like I hate you. I hate that trope. Like, get in the bin for that trope. I never want to hear it ever again because I hate it so much. If you love that trope, I apologize. Okay, last one I read for Dowithon. It's The Library Suicides by Fleur David. And I do really like Fleur David. She wrote this one in Welsh, first of all, and then translated it herself into English, I think. And the rough idea is it's about these 2 twins, these like creepy twins, who work in the National Library, the National Library of Wales. And their mother killed herself, and they feel that the reason she killed herself is because she was criticized by like a literary critic, and the literary critic has always wanted to access her memoirs or whatever. She was also an author, so that he can find where it is that she first felt like she was going to kill herself, to prove that he wasn't the reason that she did it, but he's been denied access. But finally the twins, as sort of like holders of these memoirs, they're going to allow him to read them, like with like a ruse of like, oh, you can come clear your name, but really they want him to come to the library so that they can trap him within this like labyrinthine library system. It's sort of like a bit alternate reality, sort of dystopian type. And then they're gonna get revenge on his ass, I think, not by killing him. The plan is just to like, you know, fuck with him a bit. But in execution, like, it's not great. But I feel like past me, okay, Dewith on me from March is the best person to talk to you about how it's fallen flat. So, okay, I finished it, and I don't know, 3 stars? 3 stars maybe? I don't know. Like, I think basically, okay, so, I liked the sort of dystopian stuff. It's sort of set in the future, you know, but 2020. And it's set in a time sort of where Wales is sort of being slowly purged of its sort of identity, and it's like memories, and it's like archives in its books and everything, because it's not allowed to have paper anymore. And they're part of this thing where they purge and sort of erase things on paper that they have, and they send them to England so that England can have paper. Like, it's all a bit sort of weird, but I can see how this sort of theme, this sort of like bottom underlying theme of like like losing your memories and being forced to lose your memory, sort of being purged of memory, and how that can affect, like, as a person, your personality, and as a country, your whole culture, you know what I mean? And I liked that bit, the underlying bit. However, as a story, just like basic with like characters and like a thriller and a plot and like all this sort of stuff and like swerve endings, you know, like a bit boring maybe. And like I don't think I liked the ending. I don't know, it was a bit sort of predictable, kind of like I don't know. I'm gonna go with 3 stars on this one, which is a shame because I quite liked the other one I read for Toby Thorns of Fire Drift. It's a bit of a... Also, loads of people were going on about how great this one was. It was made into a movie as well, which I think I will watch, just to see if it's maybe better. Maybe, like, sometimes, every once in a while, a movie gets it better than the book, which is rare, but I'll give it a go. Okay, that's the end. That's the end of the list. That's the 10. Like, if you've made it to the end of the list, what are your thoughts? Okay, like, what would you put on your worst books list? I feel like I need to know this just in case they're ones that are on my to read list and I need to take them off. Okay, are there any on this list that you feel really upset about? Because we can talk about that. I apologize. Like, I feel like, you know, we can have an open, safe space for discussion. I'm so sorry. Are there any on this list that you agree with though? Because, you know, bang, let's have like a, you know, like a rant solidarity. Okay, thank you for watching my rant. I love BookTube people so much. Thank you. Okay, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay, bye bye bye.